What's going on, Military Cashflow family? Hey, we got a great guest for you today, man. It's going to be awesome. Before we touch on that, I want to touch on the Facebook group a little bit. We've got some great service members in our Facebook group that are doing great things. So if you're listening to this and you haven't joined the Military Cashflow Facebook group, definitely need to do that. Literally just yesterday, I had a meeting with several people from the group, and we were talking cryptocurrency. We got on a Zoom chat, and they helped me buy my first bit of cryptocurrency. So I got some Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana now. And there's a couple other ones that I want to buy here soon, but we're going to be doing another meeting probably in another couple weeks to try to help me as a newbie really understand the whole crypto world. And I say all this to say, like, there really are some great people in the group that are doing great things in every facet of building cash flow, whether it be, vending machines, whether it be Turo, whether it be cryptocurrency, whether obviously real estate, but reach out to the group, man. If you got some questions on any ways to build cash flow as an active duty service member, like while you're serving, dude, these are things that you can be doing while you're serving, building some additional cash flow while you're serving. There's people in the group that are actually doing that, and they're very successful at it, and it can help you do the same thing. So, if you want to make a post and you guys want to like meet together or something like that, definitely do it. Because I did it myself. And I learned a lot about cryptocurrency. And yeah, I just wanted to touch bases on that. But regarding our guests, speaking of great people in the group that know and specialize in certain things, we got Vaughn Bethell on. And he is a wholesale guru. This dude's like crushing it in wholesaling. He talks about, I think he did 1.3 in 2021 in revenue. So he's crushing it. He's coming up with a bunch of creative solutions to help other homeowners or help. Excuse me, I got a tongue twisted there. To help other people get into home ownership that wouldn't traditionally qualify through FHA or VA or any of these other things. So he's doing great things out, and he's doing great things out for the world and his community, while also being able to generate a significant amount of income doing it as well. So without further ado, I'm not going to go too deep into his story, but without further ado, here goes the episode. You'll definitely want to listen to it. It's an awesome story. What's going on, Military Cashflow family? I'm really excited today. I got my brother Vaughn Bethell on today. Hey, thanks for coming on, Vaughn. Would you please let us know a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you're doing in the real estate space?
What's going on, man? I appreciate you having me on. Man, it's I'm here in Greenville, South Carolina. Been part of real estate investing for about 3.5 years. And when I got into real estate 3.5 years ago, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. But I dove all in, man. It's a passion of mine now for sure. I always been interested in it, but didn't know where to jump. So I jumped in 3.5 years ago doing some wholesaling. And really, when I started, it took me about 4 or 5 months to figure out what the heck to do. Right. Watching, podcasts, listening to podcasts in my car, YouTube University, things such as that. Long story short, it took me about 4 or 5 months to get my first deal. And then after that, I was like, proof of concept, let's go. And made 30 grand spread on our first wholesale deal, man. And it was awesome.
Nice.
So yeah, man.
So we got it. You're doing the wholesaling. You got into your first deal. I want to start off a little bit on the back end first, the beginning of the journey first, right? Like, I'd love to know what it was like for you getting introduced to real estate. Like, how did you get introduced to it? Like, did you have someone in your family that kind of introduced you to it, or how did that even start? How did your journey even start?
Gotcha, man. Gotcha. Well, if you take it way back, when I was growing up, my dad is a contractor. He's a general contractor. For as long as I remember, he's a general contractor. He's on his own construction business. But when I was growing up, I didn't like it. I didn't want anything to do with it because, you know what? If I wanted to make some extra money, my dad had me out there doing manual labor. And as a teenager, man, it was like, heck no, I don't want to be doing this. But I did what I had to do to make some money, and went off to college. And I just threw that in the rearview mirror, right? So I moved 9 hours away to Greenville, South Carolina from Florida. Played soccer at Furman University, D1 program, went on to play for the Bahamas national team, and majored in health and exercise science. And from there, I was hooked on personal training, sports performance, the exercise science component of it. So I ended up opening up my own fitness facility. And, that was in January 2005. I actually grew my clientele to about 23 clients, soccer players that I was training on soccer fields, and a couple personal training clients that I was training in, various gyms before I opened up the doors to my own facility. So January 2005, opened up the doors to my own facility with 23 clients. And over the course of the next 11 years, I grew that to 350 clients and a staff of 14. So we're doing very well, man. It was pretty successful.
No,
that
is awesome. That's extremely impressive, man. That's I thought when you mentioned like I started in 2005, I was getting myself mentally prepared for you to say like, oh, in 2006 happened or 2008 happened, and now like clientele dropped off. But man, you expanded like big time, dude. That's awesome.
Absolutely, man. 2008 did happen, but I'm a grinder, man. I don't let outside circumstances affect what I'm doing. So awesome. Actually in 2008, from 2008 to 2010, we had the most growth in our company at that time. So sometimes you got to knuckle up and, put the pedal to the metal and grind. So, grew that company, successful company. And from the outside looking in, it was very successful, right? But I grew myself a glorified job. So I didn't set up the right systems and processes from the start. I didn't hire the right people, I was a good leader, but I wouldn't say I was a great leader, right? So when I say I grew myself a glorified job, man, I was working 24/7, 365. I had trained my team to come to me for solutions, right? So I was always the one that they would come to. I was the bottleneck. And with that being said, in the fitness industry, we all know when people like to work out, right? We work out before work, after work, and at lunchtime. So I'm there. I was in the gym 18 hours a day, man. 18 hours a day. Even on Saturdays, I was there, from 6 a.m. to about 2 or 3 o'clock. And then Sundays, man, I was so tired, stressed out. I just wanted to veg out. Well, the problem is I had 2 young kids at home, been married for a while, and I wasn't giving them my full attention. So long story short, man, that the company, the business, the stress almost ran me into the ground. I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and I literally made a decision to just walk away for my health and for my family, to just walk away, dude. And that was in August of 2016. I
love that story. And I really, really appreciate you telling that story, because oftentimes we have these ideas of what we want to build and what it's going to look like until we actually get in that space, right? And it also, for just like you said, outside looking in, right? You're talking about 300 something clientele. You're talking about 14 employees. I think you said 14 employees, a whole gym facility. You were a D1 soccer star, and now you transitioned over. From the outside looking in, it's like, man, that's fantastic. This guy's got it. This guy's got it together. But sometimes the stress, like you said, the stress and the overworking can get to you, especially what it does to your family. So I really appreciate you sharing that and actually exposing that, because oftentimes what a lot of people will do would just tell the great things about it, right? We don't talk about the bad parts, or what they can lead to and what the end result can be. So I really appreciate you kind of going over that. Now, while you were going through that, right? So you chose to walk away. Mm-hmm. And I know the stress in the family, like, what was the number one concern? What was your mind at that time? Like I would imagine if I built a successful company like that, I'd be trying like whatever I could to figure out how to manage both, or to do something. So I know that had to be a serious mental shift somewhere around there. Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, man, is everybody hits a basically a turning point, right? And I wouldn't say it's rock bottom. Is when one thing becomes not as important as something else, right? And for me, my family and my health is more important than making money or having a successful business. Everything looks gravy on the outside, right? But if you're struggling on the inside and you can't sleep at night, and it's affecting your health, it's affecting your relationships, something's got to change. And I literally got to that point where I just saw no end in sight. For me to put the systems and processes in place to get my team, it'll literally have to be just a complete do-over. But with 350 clients, they're happy. I got, with their training staff and things such as that, that wasn't an option. So after praying about it a lot and talking to my wife and, looking at, seeing the look on her face every weekend when, I'm just vegging out on the couch because I don't want to think about anything. It really became an easy decision. Now, the actual action of going in and telling my team and telling my clients was one of the toughest things I've ever had to do. But you know what? I had taken care of everybody else before that point. It was time for me to take care of myself and my family. So when you look at it that way, it was an easy decision.
That's key, man. That's key. Those tough decisions, man. But I really applaud you for doing that, because I don't think a lot of people out there would actually, one, be able to recognize what's happening, and then two, make the decision for themselves and their family. And we deal with that in the military a lot too. I know there's a lot of career soldiers out there that literally put everything before their family and their health, their mental health, their physical health, their spiritual health. So I really applaud you for being able to recognize that and then take action to do what you needed to do for yourself and for your family. So what was next?
Yeah, man. So, really what it came down to is I really had to determine that I had to put myself first. Right. And, one of my coaches used to tell me all the time, he said, when you get better, everything gets better. So I had to really focus on myself. And, I had been in the fitness industry for 15 years at that point. So I was fitness, right? So I was the sports performance soccer guy, around town. I was the personal training, we were doing CrossFit before CrossFit was even a thing. So, our tagline was train like an athlete. So we took that whole sports performance mix with personal training aspect. And, that's what I was passionate about at that time. But I burned out. So I had to really figure out who I was, right? Because when you're tied to one industry for so long, unfortunately, you identify as that particular industry. So now, like, literally, I was to the point where I didn't even want to step foot in the gym. I got a gym in my basement, and I didn't even want to work out. Like, I was just so burnt out because of that. So I really had to figure out who I was, what I wanted to do. I tried a couple of things over the next year, but just wasn't passionate about anything. I even about a year after I closed my gym, I even took a job as a as a salesperson at a high-end remodeling company. And I would probably say that kind of sparked the real estate thing again.
Yeah.
Really from more of a construction standpoint, renovation standpoint. But this was your typical, high-end remodeling company that, where you get your little Clipper magazines or your promotional things in the mail, and it says, you want to add a sunroom to your house or a deck or a bathroom remodel or a kitchen remodel. So I took a job as a salesperson, and it was a one call close company, right? So I would just wake up in the morning. I had 3 or 4 appointments scheduled, drive to the customer's house. And my job was to spend at least an hour to an hour and a half in the house, getting them to know, like, and trust me, build rapport, explain to them that we were the best company to go with for the best experience. We were the best solution with the best quality. And even though that we weren't the cheapest, they should choose us. And, I'm just a relationship driven person. So for me, it was easy. So over the course of the next year, I broke all their sales records, brought over $2 million into the company. But unfortunately, that was the only time in the last 20 years that I've ever worked for somebody else. So about 6 to 9 months in, I started seeing some signs that some things weren't right. So long story short, man, it's they end up going out of business or filing bankruptcy almost a year to the date of when I started. And it was because of mismanagement of installation crews, production on the back end, and mismanagement of finances. And I realized very quickly that once I sold a job to somebody, so if I came and sold you a $60,000 sunroom, my job was to collect 30 to 50% down. So if you gave me a $30,000 check, and then I'm telling you this is what's supposed to be done, within 24 hours, our office is going to call you, set up a time for one of our production managers to come out to redo the measurements, make sure I didn't miss anything, order the equipment, get you on the schedule. And then I started getting phone calls, 3, 4, 6, 8 weeks later, reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, we haven't heard anything from your company." And I'm like, "What? That's not how I do business." So I would call or go into the office, and they just kept giving me the runaround. And finally, it just got to the point where, when you don't believe in something, it's hard to sell it.
Yeah.
And I was still selling, and I wasn't even intentionally trying to sell. So I just literally started calling in sick because I talked to my wife. I said, I just don't feel comfortable going in and selling these products when we're not doing what we say we can do. So at that point, when I realized I had no control over the deliverables, I was like, I can't do it. And so
like your reputation is kind of on the line at that point.
Absolutely.
These people that got your number, these people see your face. I'm assuming it's in a similar community, right? Like I'm assuming you're selling kind of around.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, where you live. So you run into somebody from the grocery store and they're like, hey, that asshole just
exactly
stole my money.
Exactly. Think about it this way. If I come to your house, sit at your kitchen table with you and your wife, and I just sold you a $60,000 sunroom, well, you see the company's logo on my chest, but you know my name, and I'm giving you my business card and my cell phone number, right? Who's the face of the company at that time?
You. You're 100% right. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know my owner. You don't know the production staff. You don't know anybody else. You say you only know me. And the straw that broke the camel's back is one day I was sitting on the couch watching TV with my daughter, and I get a phone call. And so, I answered the phone, and this lady that we had sold a bathroom remodel to, that we took a $6,000 check from, right, for the down payment. She called and she's like, I haven't heard from anybody, And then she said, you're a thief. You stole my money. You took my check. You did this and that. And she just started like going off on me, right? Cussing me out for a good 5 minutes. And I'm explaining to her, hey, I apologize. I have no idea what's going on. I don't own the company. This is just my role. This is what I do. Let me see if I can find out anything. You didn't write the check out to my name, so it wasn't me taking your money. And so it went on for about 5 or 6 minutes. And finally, I get off the phone, hang up the phone, or she hung up on me. And I look over, and my daughter is bawling. And the first thing she says to me is, Daddy, did you steal that lady's money? And like my heart just dropped. And I'm like, no, honey, Daddy didn't steal your money or steal that lady's money. So at that point, it was like, I'm not even going back. Right. So actually, go ahead.
So 2 questions. One, were they robbing Peter to pay Paul? Because I've dealt with that before too as a contractor, and I imagine absolutely.
So it was a combination of a bunch of things, right? So what I later found out is one, they were taking people's deposits to pay for supplies or pay payroll and things such as that, thinking that they were going to catch up. 2, they started having a lot of turnover in the installation crews and production, right? And then 3, mismanagement of funds by the owner.
Yeah, the mismanagement of funds leads to the issues with the turnover in workers like that. So
absolutely.
If you guys listen to, like, I put out a video like maybe 2 years ago on the first 4-unit renovation that I did. And that's exactly what I dealt with. I went through lawsuits. Now, luckily I protected myself because I didn't pay any down payment. What I said was, I will pay for the labor or I will pay for the materials, you do the work, and then I'll inspect it. And then I can pay you out that much, pay you in draws, basically. So that was my way of getting, being mitigated, but still it cost. This would be like a 4-month project turned into like 9 or 10 months. And like, there was, I lost a little bit of money, but it was a pain in the butt, and it was a learning experience. But I went in it knowing these are some of the things that could happen. I went in it as an investor, right? The people that you were talking to were not investors. These guys are living in their primary residence. So with that said, what is something that, like, because I know there's others out there that are listening to this, right? And they might be looking for a contract or something like that. What's something that they could do to protect themselves from a situation like that?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is one, do your due diligence. So look at reviews, research the company, do all those types of things, and multiple review points, not just reviews that are on the website. Look at the Better Business Bureau, look at any industry specific, standard sites, and make sure that they're reputable from from that standpoint. But with that being said, our boss, the owner of the company, did a great job making it look like we were a great company. And that's one of the things that when I came on as a salesperson, that we used all those reviews and things such as that to, give us that reputation, that credibility. So beyond that, whenever you're signing the contract to get work done, put as low of money down as possible, and it's always negotiable, right? It's always negotiable. And then the other thing I would say is negotiate, payments and draws, right? And then the last thing I would do, and I'll say, I would never, and I recommend this to everybody, never pay out in full until the job is completely buttoned up, punch list and everything. So, withhold 10% or 20% or whatever, but never pay out in full until the job is exactly how you like it.
Love it. Love it. That's an excellent advice. And that's the only thing that honestly protected me from losing out on like $50,000. So
yeah, absolutely.
because of paying out in those draw schedules. So I think you're 100% right on, man.
Yeah.
So we worked for a job. We realized very quickly that that's probably not the way to go, and that's not going to work for you. You saw the writing on the wall, what was going on with this company. Yeah. And then how do we get into wholesaling, man?
So
go ahead.
No, I said, so in the meantime, while I'm doing this remodeling job, man, one of my wife's best friends is a close family friend. Our daughters are best friends. She owned a jewelry store, but over the course of the 20 years that she owned this jewelry store, she had been building up a rental portfolio. And then within the last 3 years or so, 2 to 3 years, she had been doing a couple flips. So she was at the house all the time, and we were hanging out, and she was talking about her flips. I started living vicariously through her. And she knew what I was doing on the renovation side and remodeling. So we would joke and mess around and say, hey, we need to do something together. So actually in 2018, she ended up closing her jewelry store because, she just wasn't passionate about it anymore. She was burnt out. And so in August of 2018, I partnered with her and one other person to start this company. And that was 1 month before the other company shut down, right? So, when we got into this together, neither of us had a whole bunch of money to just go start buying properties and doing renovations and stuff like that. Her experience was really just her building her rental portfolio, and the properties that she was getting to flip were mostly off of MLS, a couple pocket listings from realtors. So not really going out and, marketing for off-market properties. So we were like, well, we ain't got a bunch of money. We need to figure out how to make money without any money. So she told me, she was like, she's like, I've done this thing before, and it was actually by accident. And she's like, I had a property I was going to flip. I got it under contract, and like the next day, this guy comes in and he wants the same property, and he was willing to pay $10,000 more than what I had under contract for. So she said, I just assigned the contract over to him, and at closing, I walked away with 10 grand. And I was like, that sounds like it's pretty easy. And so I was like, well, let me do some research. And so I went down a rabbit hole, man, YouTube University, podcasts, all that stuff. And I found wholesaling. And then I was just hooked, man. So from there, I was like, I told her and my other partner, I said, this is it. And I went all in. Like I said, it took us about 4 months in December of 18. So we started in August, December of 18, we locked up our first contract for $30,000. And we're like, this was 3 properties or 3 parcels with 4 buildings on it. And these are run down, like it was overgrown over the house. It was just in the crappy part of town. And we're like, man, 30 grand, So long story short, we closed on that property in January of 2019, sold it for 60 grand. So we walked away with a check for 30 grand, and we're like, proof of concept, this is it, let's do it. So I went all in.
Proof of concept too, dude. 30 grand.
Absolutely,
that's a proof of concept for you right there.
Absolutely. So I went all in, man. And for our first full calendar year, 2019, I think we ended up doing like 18 deals, about $150,000 in revenue. Well, going into the last quarter of 2019, I look up and I'm like, man, I'm grinding, and I feel like I'm doing most of the work, and I was doing 80 to 90% of the work, and but I'm splitting everything 3 ways. So, I'm worried. This is my wife's best friends. We're close friends. The other partner we had was a friend. And we always say, we'll never let friendship come between business. And so finally, my wife was like, you just need to talk to him. So it was the week of leading into Thanksgiving of 2019. We were having a meeting, and finally, I just said, hey, I need to have this crucial conversation. Here's what I'm feeling. And as soon as I brought it up, you can kind of see this weight lifted off their shoulders. Well, one of them, my wife's best friend, is 10 years older than me. And our other partner is 15 years older than me. And one was retired. She came out of retirement. The other one already had, income coming in from her rentals. So they were just looking for something part-time, kind of like a hobby. And here I am, I'm all in. So they felt like I was dragging them along faster than they wanted to go. And I felt like they were handcuffing me from going where I wanted to go, right? So we quickly came up with an agreement. I'm talking about within a couple of days, for me to buy them out. After Thanksgiving, I was running the company by myself. We finalized the buyout in January of 2020, and then it was 100% me. So
best case scenario right there. I mean, you're right. A lot of times that money will mess stuff up, but I assume like where they were at in the stages of their life, that definitely helped the situation. That's awesome.
Absolutely, man. And we're still best friends. My wife and her are still best friends. She's still hanging out all the time over the house. We're over her house. So didn't affect the friendship at all. And like I said, sometimes you just got to have those crucial conversations, put your feelings out there, and you never know how the other person's feeling. So, just be open, honest, and transparent, and things work themselves out. So, like I said, we finished 2019 about $150,000 of revenue. Started January 2020 just by myself, wearing all the hats. And I hired my first full-time employee in April 1st, 2020, an executive assistant. Well, the next week, we get a mandatory stay-at-home order because COVID hit, right? So that set us back a good bit. But, after we got that stay-at-home order, I was able to, spend a lot of time training her up because we couldn't go on appointments or do things like that. And so after they lifted that stay-at-home order, it was game on. And speed things up a little bit. We finished 2020. I think we did 38 deals and about $300,000 in revenue, which is double what we did in 2019.
And you're not splitting it 3 ways.
And I'm not splitting it 3 ways. So big difference. And that, that's about a 50% profit margin too.
Yeah.
So big deal on that. And then go ahead.
No, so what I was going to say is, like, for the audience that doesn't know, I met Vaughn at Flip Hacking Live. And if you guys go back to our Instagram page, you'll see the video that I shot with him. Also, I may have put it on, I may have been on YouTube as well. I'm not sure. But one of the things that really stuck out about you was that was the way that you were actually marketing and finding off-market deals, right? Most people, it seemed like he was a speaker on stage at this event, right? And most of the people talking were doing some form of calling, or a lot of people were doing letters, right? Well, Vaughn was doing driving for dollars. And I want you to touch on that and like,
absolutely,
why that worked so well for you. Cause you kind of alluded to it a little bit back at the beginning where you're like, hey, we're trying to start this thing with no money. But I mean, you see the type of success and the type of deals you're able to do that first year. And I imagine that was, the main portion of your, I guess, income, if you will.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that first deal I talked about, that was a driving for dollars lead. So since we didn't have a ton of money, I think it was September. So a month after we got started, we found Deal Machine, and, put boots to the ground. We got in our cars and started driving around looking for distressed properties. And, for that, I think at the time we were maybe paying $50 a month, for a single person, or, a small, I think it's 2 or 3 people subscription. But it was easy to just go out there, drive areas, take a picture of the properties. But the best thing about it is once you take a picture of the property, we can send them a postcard right then and there. So we just started doing that. And literally, I'm talking about, we were seeing like 20 to 50 a week, depending on how much money we had, you got a little extra money. So it wasn't like mailing out 5,000 or 10,000 postcards. It was just getting really targeted, with those driving for dollars leads.
So walk the audience through just one quick once around what how it works from start to finish, from doing from trying to find the lead to actually closing out the lead, just for those that are unfamiliar with what wholesaling is and what driving for dollars even means, and those things.
Absolutely, man. So the app we use is Deal Machine, and it's changed tremendously in the last 3 years that we've been using it. But really, what it allows you to do is, you have an app on your phone, and it's kind of like Google Maps, right? So once you pull up the app, you have a little map feature there, and as you drive around, you can look for houses that show some sign of physical distress. So a tarp on the roof, gutters are hanging off, windows boarded up, grass is overgrown, things such as that. And so I'll just pull up in front of the property. And, when I pull up in front of the property, all I had to do is on your map, you can see the property on the aerial view. And you would touch on the property, click on the property, and it'll pop up. And it had the owner's information, the address, and all that stuff. And you can click to add the lead and then take a picture of it. Well, the best thing about Deal Machine, and the reason I think it works so well, is because that picture is a real-time picture, right? So many people do Google Street View, and when they send postcards, and a lot of people don't do any pictures. Well, we get calls all the time off our postcards, and it's somebody that maybe they live out of state, or they live in another city, or they live in the same city, but just hadn't seen their property in 2 or 3 years. And when they get that postcard in the mail, they're like looking at it, and they're like, wait, that is my property. It looks totally different because it hadn't been taken care of. The tenants haven't taken care of it, it's overrun. And then they got to make a decision. Okay, do I want to go in there and fix up the property? Do I want to let them continue to, tear it apart, or do I want to get rid of it? And when they decide they want to get rid of it, they call us. So that's been a huge benefit of doing driving for dollars. A lot of people do driving for dollars, just go adding properties, but making sure that you're taking real-time photos. So they call into our office, just saying that, hey, I got a postcard, I'm interested in selling. And then we hand them off to one of our acquisition specialists, whose job then is to get them to, build rapport, get them to know, like, and trust them, and build a relationship, get as much information on the property, pre-qualify them, and then send them to underwriting to get a offer or letter of intent to go back to them with. Then it's a job of just negotiating, getting it under contract for the lowest possible price. And then once we have that contract signed, we now have an equitable interest in the property, right? So we can decide what's the best exit strategy for us. Now, the best exit strategy for us when we first started in that first year was we only had one exit strategy. We had to find somebody else to buy the property because we didn't have the money to do anything with it, right? So now we realized that we had to start building the buyers list, marketing it on the backside, on the disposition side. So marketing for buyers, sending emails out, text messages, and things such as that. And so now our focus went from not just, marketing for sellers, is growing the buyers list, right? And the bigger your buyers list, the more money you're going to make per contract. So then we'll market it to our buyers, accept the highest and best offer, put it in escrow, go to close, and get a check or get a wire into our account.
Excellent. That was an excellent explanation from start to finish. So if you didn't know what wholesaling was, you didn't know how it works, you didn't know how the driving for dollars piece works, then there's your explanation. Just rewind that back and make sure to listen to that, because it's very easy to explain, but there are a lot of steps in there that that you got to do.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're right, man. It's a relationship business. It's a lot about building rapport and trust and continued follow up. So and we talked several times offline after you got off the stage as well. And I just really like how you operate in the business. And I didn't know about the fitness business prior to, and then now it makes sense, like that you've ran a business and you've done it several times. So with that said, how has that helped? Having that fitness business in the background and, working with another company where you kind of identified issues, how did your experience help lead you up to, building what you have now and continuing to scale that?
Oh, absolutely, man. It's, I learned a lot of what not to do and a lot of what to do, right? So from my previous business, from working for somebody else for that 1 year, and I've started multiple businesses, whether it's online or, I did for a little bit, like, just straight soccer specific, skills and sports performance, things such as that. I actually, in the fitness business, I coached a lot of other fitness business owners to get to the level of success that I had. And so, I ran mastermind groups. There's a lot of things that from experience, you learn a lot of what to do and what not to do. So taking that into consideration, when I started this business, even with my partners, I was very, very clear and intentional on making sure that, one, I created this as a lifestyle business, right? So time was more important to me than anything else. So we didn't do any work on the weekends. We set a set time to go home, and I wouldn't take away from my family time to work on the business. So I was intentional about that. The two other things that I think are crucial that has allowed us to get to the point where we're at now is implementing an operating system with systems and processes. So we use EOS. It's something I learned in my fitness business, that it's a lot harder to implement something when you don't have anything in place and you got a full team and get them on board than it is to start with a operating system. And so systems and processes, meeting cadence, tracking KPIs, all those things are extremely important and have been crucial to our success. And then the last thing is implementing profit first. So accounting methodology.
That's important.
That is huge, man. It's huge, especially when starting a business, because it makes sure that you're always getting paid. And as the owner operator, which is, it's very important. But it also makes it that you can only grow based off of whatever is in that operating expense allocation account, right? So that dictates your growth. Whereas a lot of people just take the money, every dollar they make, and dump it back into the company. Nope. You got to make sure that you're getting paid and you're getting compensated for your efforts. But also it makes you drive that much harder to grow that operating expense account so you can continue to grow your business.
That's excellent.
So
I read that book by Mike Michalowicz, I believe,
yep.
the called
Profit First.
It's a really good read if you guys haven't read it and you're trying to start your entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, I think it's a necessary read for sure. So I set those foundations when I started the company. Even after I bought my partners out and started hiring people on my own, I had those things in place. I had systems and processes in place. And, I told you earlier, we finished 2020 with about $300,000 in revenue, right? About a 50% profit margin. Well, in January 2021, I hired a full-time acquisitions manager and a full-time dispositions manager. I spent the entire month of January casting my vision to them and what the potential this company had. Neither one of them had any real estate investing experience. So I had to train them up on wholesaling, buying wholes, fixing flips, creative financing, all these things. So it literally took us probably the whole first quarter of 2021 to get everybody up to speed. And with that being said, I think we did 4 deals in the first quarter of 2021. And they weren't big deals. Like one of them was like $4,000. It was a carryover from December of 2020. And the other ones were like, I think the largest one was like maybe $15,000. So it wasn't huge deals, but sometimes you got to pull the reins back, right? And get your systems, processes, or get your house in order before you can move forward. And that's what we did, is we just spent time training, setting the foundation, getting all our systems and processes dialed in and fine tuned. And then, once April came, second quarter, let them loose and speed things up a little bit. We finished 2021 at $1.3 million in revenue. And that's, wholesaling revenue. That doesn't count in that we acquired 8 rental properties, buying wholes. And then we also, we created 9 notes. So we own and finance 9 properties. So we got about $1.5 million in assets on top of that $1.3 million in revenue.
Bravo, man. That's phenomenal, dude. Now, I really like that you emphasize the point of you have to take a step back sometime to get your foundation in order, right? Especially as you're trying to scale and you're trying to implement more people into your operation, right? You've got to take that time back. And it doesn't do anything but multiply like exponentially as soon as you take that time back to really focus on your people. I really love that part of and it speaks to how you're able to generate so much revenue really within 3 quarters. We're not talking a year, really 3 quarters essentially, based off what you're saying. So
absolutely,
that's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal.
Appreciate that, man. And like our team is 11 right now, and as of Monday, 2 days from now, I hired 3 more acquisition specialists that are starting on Monday. So that put us at 14. And then I'm hiring a marketing specialist here in the next couple of weeks. And I'm already in the interview process right now of hiring a COO that'll be put in place by beginning of second quarter. So these are all things that have allowed us to scale. And if I wouldn't have took that step back, pull the reins back a little bit and just get focused on the systems and processes, and most importantly, the vision and the mission of the company and getting people bought in, we wouldn't be where we are now.
So with that said, that's one thing I was going to ask about as well. You said you spent January 2021 basically focusing on your vision and focusing on the plan. What did that look like for you? Because I think that's not just important only in business, but also in life. Like, especially if you have a relationship, taking a step back and figuring out the vision and the plan for your family, along with kind of a timeline, right? So speak to us, man. How do you even start that process, and what did you find was most effective for you to build a solid plan?
Yeah, man. Well, let's go back. In December of 2020 is really when I put that vision and mission in place. And I look at it, December is a slow month for us. I get my team off, basically between Christmas and New Year's. So the week before Christmas and all the way up to New Year's Day. So about the last 2 weeks of December, we're not really doing anything. So with that being said, too, at that point, it was just me and my executive assistant. And I looked up probably around Thanksgiving of 2020, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, yeah, I'm wholesaling and I'm making good money, but what am I doing? I just got my head down, and my only focus right now is at that point was just to make money, right? Get properties under contract, assign them. Get properties under contract, assign them. But what am I doing this for? What's going to keep me doing this for the next 10, 15, 20 years, right? And when I thought about that, I was like, I need to really, figure out what's the mission, what's the vision of this company. So I spent probably the whole month of December in my basement, in my little man cave, on my poker table. I had my computer, my monitors, a whole bunch of notebooks and books, and figuring out what the vision of this company was. And so I really had to have that purpose, and from that came our core purpose. And so right now, as we move forward, and in most of 2020, our core purpose is to provide the dream of home ownership through non-traditional financing. So what we want to do is we have 3 core beliefs. Core belief number 1, everybody deserves a nice place to stay, should they be capable of and willing to take care of it. Core belief number 2 is that everybody deserves to be a homeowner, should they want to be and can afford to be. And core belief number 3 is the person that's paying $1,000 a month in rent would much rather pay $1,000 a month to own. So if we find a person that meets those 3 core beliefs, and they agree with those 3 core beliefs like we do, what we do now is, instead of assigning properties, if we have the funds available, let's say we get a property under contract for $50,000. We're going to go take that property down. We're going to make sure that property has good solid bones. So good roof, no leaks. If it's on the end term of is wear, then we're going to replace it. Make sure it has a good working HVAC system. If we need to replace it, we will. No foundational issues. And then clean out the property, maybe some paint and carpet. And then we want to find a buyer who's looking for to be a homeowner, but can't get traditional financing. So they don't qualify for FHA, conventional financing. And it's not just because of credit. Maybe it's because they have no credit. Maybe it's because they're self-employed, right? They don't have 2 years of W-2s. So there's a lot of reasons that somebody can't get qualified for traditional FHA financing. And if we go back and look at the first 3 months after COVID hit, 55% of people that apply for a mortgage were getting denied. So there's a huge pool of people out there that they're tired of renting. They want to be a homeowner, but they just are not to the point at this point in time where they can get approved for FHA or conventional financing. So we're giving them that opportunity. So what we're doing is taking the property that we've bought. Usually we're buying that property with private money. We're wrapping that note with another note by selling it to an end buyer. So we're taking usually a 12% or more down payment, and we're financing anywhere from 8 to 10%. And our number one goal is to put them in a position where within 3 to 5 years after they buy the property from us, they can go and refinance us out.
Yeah, no, so that's special right there. That definitely is special. And I know in talking to a lot of my peers that aren't in the military, just in speaking to family members and other people, especially like the younger, like 22 to 27 range, everybody's trying to get into a house, but but just like you said, man, some people aren't able to qualify for it, whether it be the W-2 issue. I mean, honestly, wages and credit and student loans, all these things play a factor. So for you to be able to get in there and offer them like basically a rent to own option, that's special, man.
Appreciate that. And so if you look at what our 10-year mission is, or big, hairy, audacious goal, or whatever you want to call it, our goal is to provide that dream of home ownership to 500 families by 12/31/2030. Nice. So that's our big mission. That's what we're focusing on. That's what we're thriving, working towards every single day. So our only hurdle is money, right? Just like everybody else. If we had all the money in the world, every property we'll get under contract, we'll take down, we'll create that equity, we'll sell it on to somebody that needs owner financing. So
nice. I want you guys to key in on how specific that goal was, right? At the date, the time, exactly what was supposed to happen. And like, it's pretty much the measurable goal, man. I think that's key to defining your goals and actually accomplishing your goals. Cause you can't just say, we want to provide, homes to a bunch of people. It's like, now we want 500 homes, 2031. And this is the reason why. So I think that's really special. That'll help you get there.
Yeah. It has to be that smart goal, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time oriented. Smart goals.
Perfect. So we started offering a bunch of different, it seems like you kind of went off of just wholesaling, right? And then you started branching off, kind of that vertical integration, if you will, with offering notes, with also turning some into rental properties. But it seems like the hub was all wholesaling, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's what wholesaling is. Wholesaling is the art of finding off-market properties, right? Getting really good at finding off-market properties. And I look at our core company, REI Junkies. We're a sales and marketing company. That's what we are. We find off-market properties. We get in touch with sellers, see if they're interested in selling, and then we build a relationship with them, get them to know, like, and trust us, get it on the contract for the lowest possible price. And then from there, we can determine what's the best exit strategy for us for that property. And then if you look at it, though, the thing is with wholesaling is 100% transactional, right? So when you get a property under contract, you assign that property, you close, guess what you have to do? You got to go find another property to make money. So it's all about building generational wealth, building cash flow. And the only way to do that is through buying wholes and to owner finance or be the bank.
Multiple streams of income. Multiple
streams of income.
That's awesome. So kind of wrapping up a little bit, and I love everything that you discussed so far. You kind of gave us the rundown, and I really appreciate the beginning part of your journey, especially like identifying what was going on, and then how you needed to pivot essentially. But for those, speak to people out there with a job right now, right? We want to get started wholesaling, but I have a full-time job. What are some things that you would recommend to them on how to get started, and what should they be doing?
Well, I'm a big believer in buying speed. So if they're watching this video, this podcast, they're already doing the work. They're researching, they're going down the rabbit hole of YouTube University, and they're doing what they need to be doing to educate themselves. But at some point, you got to take action. And I think if you have a full-time job, maybe you got some money that you'll be able to put away, find yourself a coach, buy speed. And that's what coaching is, whether it's a coach, it's a coaching program, it's a mastermind, you're buying speed. You're not reinventing the wheel. Everything that I've done in my company to this point, and everything I did in previous companies, I didn't invent a single thing, right? I went to a coach, or I joined a mastermind, or I joined a program that gave me the systems, tools, and processes. And what I had to do is just take those and then tweak them to what I was doing, and then implement and take action. So find a coach, find a program, speed the process up. And then the most important thing is you can sit there and watch YouTube videos. You can go through a course. You can listen to podcasts in the car, but nothing will happen unless you take action. You got to start.
Excellent. Excellent. And if you guys listen to enough of the episodes, that's like the number one piece of advice that has been given out every single time. Like, take action, take action, take action, take action. So if you're listening to this and you're like, man, dude, I've been on YouTube University. I've been reading books. I've been doing all this for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months. It might be that time. This is for you. This is Vaughn telling you. This is Dan telling you, but Vaughn, I'm echoing what Vaughn's saying. It's time to take some action, man. That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, but not just take action, take educated action. Get a coach or get a course that's going to show you exactly what to do to get started, right? Stop the trial and error. That's going to take you a long time. Make the investment. And like I said, it's buying speed. And here's one thing I want to say. I tell people this all the time. We call ourselves investors, right? And we will invest in a property or an opportunity quick. But there's no better investment than in ourselves and in our business. So make the investment, hire a coach, get started. True.
Excellent. Well, Vaughn, thanks so much for coming on. I know people out there listening is like, man, how do I get in touch with this dude? Like he's just killing it right now, just killing the game. And then he's a great coach, great person. How do our listeners get in contact with you?
The easiest way to get in touch with me is going on Facebook. Just my name, Vaughn Bethell, VAUGHN BETHELL. Find me, friend me, send me a message. I'm on Facebook more than any other platform. That might make me old. I am on Instagram every now and then, and LinkedIn, but mostly I'm on Facebook, and that's the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Excellent. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate all the information you gave. I appreciate, your story and sharing it. We'll go ahead and push that out and make sure it goes out to the masses, man. I know this is going to be very inspirational for a lot of people. So.
My pleasure, Dan. I appreciate you having me on, man. This is awesome.
Excellent. Hey, so if you're listening to this on YouTube, do us a favor, hit the like button, leave us a comment, man. Vaughn's on Facebook. He's also on our Facebook group, I believe, as well. So make sure to join the Military Cashflow Facebook group if you're not already in it. We got service members on there helping each other build wealth and create cash flow. If you're listening to this on podcast, leave us a review. We really appreciate those as well. That helps us grow the channel. That helps us get more great people like Vaughn on to come and tell their story. And then ultimately it ends up helping you even more because you get to hear the stories. So with that said, this is Dan Wynn signing off.